Is it flashing on the bottom?
Yep.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. We're here tonight to learn a little bit about hypothermia. You guys all know each other, and for those who don't know me, my name is Joanne, and I'm a member here with the fire department, and we're going to do hypothermia. Since we're heading into the winter season, we want to cover some of our signs and symptoms with that. So let's go to the first screen. We got level of severities. There's actually 3 that we look at when we're talking about hypothermia. The first one is mild, okay? And we're going to get into all the signs and symptoms here in the next couple PowerPoint screens and stuff. So mild, moderate, and severe. So 3 levels of hypothermia that we look at. The mild, one of the first signs and symptoms that we see with it, I brought up all 3, is shivering. Will be one of our first signs that we see. We all know that. We all live in Alberta. We all know that it's cold outside, and we like to shiver. And of course, we love to complain about the cold. And the third thing we see with mild hypothermia is numbness. So numbness maybe in fingers, toes, on the face and stuff like is what we'll start finding. Not really severe. At this point, our normal body temperature is 37, and we may start to see the temperature starting to drop now at this point, maybe 36, moving on to maybe 35 when we get into the moderate. So again, we have the first 3. We have shivering. We have complaining about the cold, which again, we're born in Alberta, we live in Alberta, we all like to complain about the cold. Numbness, and then we have 3 new ones looking up here. We have lack of coordination or speech. So this person is now starting to stumble with their words, stumbling with doing fine motor skills with their hands, maybe even walking, because we're seeing a lot of this coming in too, and of course it's getting a lot worse with each level. Confusion or unusual behavior. Doing funny things like, why are you doing that? Or taking off his toque when he's been complaining about being cold, or he's just quit moving. Instead of moving around to stay warm, he's stopped moving and stuff. And then the third one is the impaired judgment. And this is the one where we're going to see more that he's going to start removing more clothes, because we shiver, of course, to keep warm. That's our way that our body keeps warm, is to shiver. So as we get more severe, we start seeing that shivering is actually starting to slow down. I will go up really fast, and then it will come down slow again. So he'll start saying he's warm. And you're going to see that more in the severe levels here. So at this point, we got stop shivering going on, like I just said, that his body can't keep up with the shivering in order to keep him warm. So his body is actually stopped shivering, which is actually causing the body to actually shut down at this point. He stopped complaining about being cold. He still has numbness going on, but he may not even notice it anymore because he has such an altered level of consciousness that he may not even notice the numbness anymore. Lack of coordination and or speech, that's still present, still struggling with that. Confusion, unusual behavior. This is where we're going to see more of him maybe starting to remove his clothing, like his toque, his glove, undoing his jacket, undoing his jacket, even on taking off his jacket. Impaired judgment goes in there. Breathing has slowed down if it stopped. And of course, if he stopped, he's going to be unconscious at that point, and we're going to be looking at CPR at that point. But we're going to see that breathing has definitely slowed down. All right. Temperature is below 32. So on the mild, I said we start with normal body temperature at 37, and then we slowly start to drop. And by the time we're at severe hypothermia, we're down to about 32 degrees. Okay? If you have any questions, we're going to go through them here at the end. So what I'm going to do now is just show you all 3 of them together. So there you see the 3 with the mild. The moderate, we see the 3 plus the other 3, which is lack of coordination and or speech and impaired judgment. Sorry, that's 2 more. That will come into place. And then the severe, where we get a lot more going on like that. I also have added in here that this one that the body also is starting to feel stiff. So at this point, even in this severe point, the person could still be conscious and stuff, or they could become unconscious at this point. So what we want to look at, of course, is the first aid. What can we do to help prevent hypothermia from happening? And I mean, it can happen very easily for one of us firefighters when we're out on a scene, especially if you're doing traffic control and you're just standing there. So So the first one is treat the patient very gently and monitor their breathing carefully. So this is the kind of the more moderate to severe is what we're looking at here with this one. Okay, so if we're in the mild, we want to look at a couple other first aids here. They're going to come up right away, which is this one. Get out of the cold and into a shelter. We cannot fix hypothermia or stop it if we stay out in the cold. You can start a fire if you wanted to out there, if that was the scenario, but you're only going to get the person so warm because you stay out in the cold. They're just going to get cold twice as fast. So we really have to get them out of the element. Remove any wet clothing and dry the person. Wet clothing keeps the cold in, of course. Warm the person by wrapping him or her in blankets and putting on dry clothing. Cover the head and neck and warm the person slowly. Oh, red doesn't show up very well on this screen, sorry. Warming the person too quickly can cause heart problems. So that's what I want to mention here, and that's why it says warm them slowly. If I take a person who's hypothermic and they got a body temperature of 32 or below 35, and I bring them in and I think, hey, I got a hot tub. I'm going to put them in the hot tub that's nice and warm. It's almost too warm because you're going up to about 104 degrees Celsius. Yeah, I think, no, yeah, Celsius. And what will happen there is that, the body will go into shock and it will actually cause the heart just to stop. It's too much of a shock difference from one to the next. Okay, so try to warm them slowly. We can use warm cloths, we could use heating pads, hot pads and stuff like that. Just watch that they don't leave them on in too long in that area and burn the skin. There, we got a poor little duck. He's wet. Somebody should dry him, I think. So another one we see is if the person is alert, give him or her warm liquids. No alcohol or caffeine, because of course those are blood thinners and that will make our warming up harder to do for that person. Treat for any other injuries that we might see on the patient at this time. So if we're talking about the severe hypothermia, we might already have frost nip and frostbite by this point. Okay. So, and we learned that the other day on how to treat those. Prevention is our last section here. First one we want to always do is check the weather. A little bit more difficult if we're going on a call and we're out rushing and checking the weather, but we're coming outside, so you know that it's cold. You've probably been around for a while, you know it's cold, so make sure you're dressing properly. And the best way to dress is in layers. Wear layers of clothing and warm yourself when cold, which is really hard to do. So because sometimes we're stuck out there for a while, so keeping moving and stuff. But try to warm yourself as soon as you start getting cold. Wear tightly woven fabrics, example, wool and fleece. Okay, what we're looking at there. Wool, sorry, not warm. Wool insulates even when wet, so it's much better. Avoid cottons because cotton keeps the cold in and it stays wet, so it's going to keep you cold, where the wool will insulate it, and even though wool is wet, or even if the wool is wet, it's still going to keep you warm. Okay? So pick your clothes that you're looking at. Cover up the vulnerable areas such as fingers, toes, cheeks, ears, and nose. Those are the ones that are going to get the frostbite and the frost nip really quickly. And of course that's going to help cool your body temperature. Cover up your head and your trunk because you lose most of your heat from these areas. I think we all know that. We always want to wear a toque, so we always lose warmth there. Shivering is your body's response to cold. Blue lips and vigorous shivering are warning signs of hypothermia, which we see right in the mild. Shivering was the very first one all the time, so watch for that. As soon as you start shivering, get out of the cold and let your body warm up. This will help you better with short periods in the extreme cold. So, okay, so it's really important to get yourself back in, and sometimes it's hard to do, but you want to get warm, all right, right away before you stay out there and get too cold. Drink plenty of warm fluids to help your body stay warm. If warm drinks are not available, drink lots of water, plain water. And again, remember, watch out for any alcohol. Hypothermia can occur at any time of the year. All right, so it can even be inside in a cold area that you can get hypothermia from. And that's our last. So we'll go over questions here right away, and then I'll hand you out your feedbacks, and we'll call it the evening. Okay, thanks guys.